This is A's Cast Live, your comprehensive look at the Oakland Athletics.
Watch the left field deep. Van going back, looking up. He will watch it fly.
And 29 other MLB clubs.
2-2 pitch on Trout, and he blasts one way back. Goal for Yelich.
Cody Bellinger hits one out.
He's your home run derby champion.
Join us as we take you inside the baseball universe. From spin rate to juiced balls to game-changing moments, we have you covered. Spend your afternoon with us next from the town, only on A's Cast Live. A's Cast Live. Here's Chris Townsend.
By the second. Oh, if you only knew this millennial technology, my computer froze. I had to restart it. I'm sure Commander was panicking.
I was ready to go.
Well, yeah, if you start the show, you're fired. We have a special trade deadline show for you here on A's Cast Live. Why? Because today was one of the greatest days in modern-day baseball history, where baseball completely took over, where it was just fascinating to watch our sport try again. That's the biggest takeaway from me. Yes, I love the move that the Oakland Athletics made today. They got hitters. They got guys with batting averages. They got guys with track records. That was great to see. But I think the number one thing today is the fact that people tried. People want to win. This next 2 months is going to be incredible. Absolutely incredible. For so long now, we have watched teams not go for it. Hold on to your prospects. Your prospects are like gold. Today, we saw teams that are not even 500 say, I want to be in the race. I want to win. That's what professional sports is about. That's why we want to watch. That's the entertainment. We want our teams to be all in. And you had teams from every division. You had teams from both leagues who said, we're in the fight. And there's a lot of good teams out there now. You know, it's funny. We had Paul Hembekides on yesterday from ESPN. He said he had a new World Series favorite, the Milwaukee Brewers. I wonder if that has changed. I wonder, I don't know, we got to check Vegas. How's this going to affect the odds? How has this affected the A's odds? But there's a bunch of teams who said, we're in. Let's get in this fight. Shame on those teams that are bad. I feel bad for their fan bases because that's not what professional sports is about. Professional sports is about winning and trying to win year in, year out, and it's what your A's do. It's what David Force does. It's what Billy Beane has done forever. They want to win. There is no tomorrow. Who cares about next year? I'm living for today. I don't care about 2023, 2024. I'm worried about right now. Can we compete for a championship right now? And you saw so many teams say, to hell with prospects. We're going for it. What are we saving a guy in A-ball for? Every single year we have that top 30 list of top prospects. How many of those guys ever work? Use them now while you can get something for them. And that's what we saw around the league today. And the fact that we don't have a waiver wire process, teams had to get in, and they had to get in by 1 o'clock. And some teams waited to the very last minute, but hey, I applaud the San Francisco Giants. Getting Chris Bryant's huge. His versatility, it's huge. And I know Cody was watching both shows, but I was watching MLB Network, their show, and everybody was ripping on certain teams. I mean, shame on the Seattle Mariners. If Jerry Dipoto keeps his job, I'll be shocked. I mean, we're going to get rid of Kendall Graveman, who we don't need to get rid of, and he costs nothing. He's been spectacular, and we're going to give him to the enemy. Oh, but don't worry, big things are coming down the pike. Harold Reynolds asked a great question. Did the market change on the Seattle Mariners, and is their front office now really worried about their job security? Because they basically did nothing. No big splash whatsoever. Kimbrel to the White Sox? Are you kidding me? With Liam Hendricks? Trey Turner and Max Scherzer? This is one of the biggest deals we've ever seen at the trading deadline. Javi Baez with Lindor and their buddies. For the Athletics, getting Yan Gomes and Josh Harrison. Josh Harrison is a good, versatile player who can hit. And you got him for nothing. And how about the raw emotion of Chris Bryant? When he learned that he got traded, and I don't know what coach he was with, but he broke down and cried. Because you realize these are human beings. And you've spent your entire life, your professional life, with one organization. That's all he knows is the Chicago Cubs. And to think that you now everything changes. Now you're going to San Francisco. So he and his wife, you got to pack up I don't know if he has a house, an apartment. I don't know if he has young kids. I know he's married. But your whole life changes. You're moving to another city. It's something that we will never experience. Like, you're never going to get traded to another corporation or another job and say, hey, thanks for everything. See you later. You got traded across town. And normally it's not across town like Craig Kimbrel from the north side to the south side. It's Chicago to San Francisco. It's crazy to think how in just one phone call, one meeting, hey, thanks for everything, but we've just traded you. And you're now moving. And you now work for somebody else. You don't work for us. Doesn't matter you want an MVP. Doesn't matter you want Rookie of the Year. Doesn't matter you want a World Series. He gone. But just a fascinating day in baseball that if our sport is smart, we will make this some type of like baseball holiday. Or make it like a week. Because there's been deals going on all week long. You know, we talked about it last night in the postgame show when I think it was you texted me and the rumors were out there that the A's were looking at Yan Gomes. And when I brought it up, I think people were like a little uncomfortable because they know Sean Murphy is the future. But the reality is Sean Murphy's hitting what, 218? And it's been a while since he's, you know, you can look at the numbers, but the reality is lately he hasn't been hitting. And the A's need some offense. There's no question about it. They need offense. Your starting pitching has been phenomenal. The same 5 guys have pitched the last 71 games. Nobody else in baseball has that. And there's something to be said about backing up your starting pitching. And backing up what your guys are giving. And and I think these moves, Marte was great, and I think these moves are fantastic. And really help this ball club and energize this ball club and energize this fan base. You know, there's been some tough stuff we've had to talk about lately that is not baseball related. This kind of kickstarts us back into, hey, let's talk baseball. And when I look at the numbers of Sean Murphy right now, yeah, he's hitting 218. Let's take a look at Sean Murphy from a standpoint of when is the last time Sean Murphy has gone deep, as we're going to go to his game logs. And he is still the future. There is no question about it. It's just he's a young catcher, and, you know, They start to figure you out.
He went deep against San Diego, didn't he? Against Drew Pomerantz in like the 8th inning. So that would have been a couple nights ago?
July 27th against San Diego. He went deep July 11th, July 10th. So 3 home runs in July. Hitting .221 in July. He has a very low OPS in July. And I don't know if Bob Melvin will be able to give us an answer, but obviously Garcia will go down. How much is Yan Gomes going to play? And Harrison is a very intriguing player. And I think Harrison basically says they don't expect much from Chad Pinder going forward. But Harrison's a different beast than Chad Pinder. And Chad Pinder's hamstring still sounds really bad. But it's not like Pinder's been having a good year. You know, he's had the issue with the knee. He's had the issue now with the hamstring. And you know that Allen is going to hit. I should say Harrison. You know Harrison is going to hit. And what this also does, Cody, I think, is allows you to play more Jed Lowry down the stretch at DH.
Yeah, it gives him time to not be in the field as much. He can rest his, I don't want to say old legs, but, I mean, Jed's an older guy in terms of baseball sense. He's an older player. So it gives him a chance to DH only. You won't have to play him in the field. And you can play Josh Harrison can play everywhere. Trust me, I know. I watched him play with the Pirates for so many years. That's where he came up. I feel like it's a mid-aughts Pirates reunion with him and Marte playing for the A's now. But he's a nice player. He can play second. He can play third. He can play in the outfield. He played first base a little bit. I think like 1 inning last year for the Nats. He can play. He has played shortstop before for the Pirates, so he can play literally everywhere. I don't think he's ever caught before, but he's literally done everything. He's Mr. Versatility. He's just another piece. And you bring these two guys in. Say they both start in a game, and you bring their averages in. You got Starling Marte hitting over 300, and then Yan Gomes and Josh Harrison already are jettison up the A's leaderboard in batting average.
Well, I mean, you just traded for a guy hitting 300, and then you trade for his buddy. He's hitting 295. These are the 2 highest averages on the A's. Now, Marte and Harrison. And then in 4th place, because you're going to have Matt Olson in 3rd place, in 4th place, Yan Gomes, he's hitting 271 with 9 dingers. And he brings that veteran leadership. And he's a good thrower. I mean, this is and they got him for guys that you go, who? I don't know who these guys are. They got him. I mean, it's almost like what was Washington thinking? Or maybe this was the only deal out there for players like this. But you basically gave up nothing to get 2 quality offensive players. So you've picked up 3 guys that can swing it. You've dramatically improved your offense. The A's are in for the fight, and it's wonderful to see. You know, when all the people bag on ownership and all the people bag on the front office, it's so funny how it works. And then all of a sudden they go out and make these deals. Folks are going for it, like they always do. Force their hand, as I always say. But I love to see like the Braves, right, Cody? I mean, the Braves are making moves. The Cardinals are making moves. You got teams that are not even 500 were making moves because they're like, why the hell not? There's 2 months left. Let's get into the party.
Yeah, well, I'm going to call Chip real quick, but the Braves getting Richard Rodriguez and Jorge Soler after the deadline expired, those are good moves. And the Pirates actually got back MLB quality players, but the Braves getting those guys without Ronald Acuna Jr., that shows they're going for it. They don't care if they don't have their best player. They're still going to try to win now.
No doubt about it.
We can go over some of the guys that were traded. This is from yesterday and today, but it's no particular order, but we'll start with the Giants. I got Chris Bryant from the Cubs for Alexander Canario and another guy. Since June 1st, though, if you're a Giants fan, I don't know if you want to be alarmed, Chris Bryant's hitting 191 in 43 games. He'll be fine. He can play anywhere for you.
I have a feeling that that's the weight of knowing that they're going to blow it up is on you. Remember, they lost all those. How many games did they lose in a row? 10 or something like that?
It was 11, and I think they lost like 11 of their last like 19 or something like that.
So Bryant's a good pickup for the Giants.
Yeah, and he can play anywhere for them. He can play left field. He can play shortstop, third base, first base. So that's a great pickup for them.
He might become their everyday right fielder.
Another question for you quickly with them. Are you rooting for the Giants this weekend? They're playing the Astros.
Yes.
No, so Giants fan this weekend only. All right. They also got Tony Watson back from the Angels.
Put it this way. The devil could be playing the Astros, and I'm rooting for the devil.
Do you root for Seattle when they play the Astros? That's a good question.
Once again, the devil could be playing against the Astros. I'm rooting for the devil.
The Mets got Javi Baez and Trevor Williams for literally Peter Crow Armstrong, the Mets' top pick from the draft last year. He was their number 5 overall prospect. So I think that's the only person I saw in the deal. There could have been other players, but that's the headliner. Phillies got Kyle Gibson, Ian Anderson, and Hans Kraus, the number 9 prospect in the Rangers system.
Oh,
yeah. For a couple prospects, and they also got Freddie Galvis from the Orioles. That's what the Phillies did. Braves
I like that deal for the Phillies.
I do too.
I mean, Gibson, we let me tell you something. Against the Rangers,
we'll play them next week.
5-5 against the Rangers this year. It's going to be nice. Get Gibson out.
Gallo,
bye-bye. Have fun in New York.
Ian Kennedy.
What do you think it's going to be like? And I don't know who said this. I was watching something. Oh, it was Himbo yesterday. Said, you wait till Joey Gallo has a 3-4 strikeout game. Yeah, this is not going to be like Texas. You're going to get the Boo Birds. If he goes through a stretch where he's not hitting, the Boo Birds will be out. Let's see how he handles it.
I'm actually going to look. Who are the Yankees? I don't know who the Yankees are playing because they're not on Sunday Night Baseball. They're playing the Marlins actually in Miami. Sunday Night Baseball this week though is Rays Red Sox in Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay getting a rare Sunday Night Baseball game. So Braves got Eddie Rosario from the Indians for Pablo Sandoval. The Indians have already released Pablo Sandoval. Adam Duvall comes over from the Marlins. They got Jorge Soler from the Royals, and they got Richard Rodriguez from the Pirates. So that's what the Braves did. The Yankees got Joey Gallo and Anthony Rizzo. They didn't trade Luke Voit, although they wanted to. And they got Andrew Heaney from the Angels. The Mariners, they got Diego Castillo, the closer from the Rays, who has 3 years of control left. But here's a quote from Jerry DiPoto earlier today. We were unwilling to meet the prices to the targets we did have. We were resistant to trading our top prospects for short-term gain. There's more of that, which I'll get to later. DiPoto didn't want to part with any of his guys like Emerson Hancock and Jared Kelenic and the guys that they have in their system. So to win now, you've only missed the playoffs for the last 20 years. Why not? Let's make it 21. The White Sox got Craig Kimbrell from the Northsiders, so a Northsiders Southsiders trade. Second one in 2 days, they got Ryan Tepera also to put in their bullpen. Bigger question is, well, who closes? Is it Liam, or is it Craig Kimbrell, a future Hall of Famer, or because I guess the White Sox already said that they're gonna have them both get save opportunities.
You know what Harold Reynolds said today? I thought was pretty interesting. H, as they like to call him on the show. He goes, I would not want to have Kimbrell, like let's say out there in the 6th or the 7th, because he does not hold runners at all. So when he's in there in the 9th inning, huffing and puffing and blowing smoke by everybody, that's one thing. But if you're in the 6th or 7th, guys are going to be like, I'm running on this guy all day long.
Yeah.
Do you want that? So it might be better to have Kimbrell be the closer, and Liam, for the most part, Liam does because he was a starter. I mean, not that there's a huge running game out there anymore, but Liam has awareness of runners on base to where Kimbrell has zippo. So do you want a guy out there that has no awareness of runners on base out there before the 9th inning?
Well, that's something they got to find out because I think Kimbrel has a mutual option or a team option for next year for $16 million. Now, remember, they're already paying Liam a ton of money over the next couple of years. Was it 3 for 54? I think the deal was something like that. So Kimbrel's at 35 games finished right now, and he has 23 saves. I think he has to get to 55 games finished. If he gets there, his option kicks in for next year automatically. So the White Sox want to pay him $16 million next year on top of paying Liam, and then you're splitting saves between those two guys. Fascinating how they use Craig Kimbrel going forward. And then they gave up Nick Madrigal, a guy who never strikes out and a guy that is a contact hitter, and they gave up Cody Hauer, who's another flamethrower.
But Nick's out for the year, right?
Yeah, he's out for the year, so the Cubs won't even get him until next year. But they did acquire Cesar Hernandez, who has 18 home runs from the Indians, to play second base for them right now.
I didn't realize the north side could do a deal with the south side.
They did 2 in the last 2 days.
Wow.
I know it's crazy. The Dodgers got Danny Duffy for a player to be named later. Danny Duffy is currently hurt. Max Scherzer and Trey Turner. Trey Turner currently on the COVID list, so who knows when he'll join the team. But Max Scherzer, slated, if you go off the number of days of his rest, will pitch on Tuesday against, wait for it, I believe it's the Astros. So you can't make. I think it's who they play. I think they play the Astros next week. So that'll be terrific if you're a Dodgers fan.
Our answer to can a guy on the COVID list get traded? We learned that yes, you can.
Yeah,
but he's got to be quarantined. I don't know the actual protocols. I'm sure he's going to have to pass a couple tests before he can get on a plane and go to LA. Where was Washington? Were they at home or on the road?
I think they were at home.
Okay, so he's probably at home, but he's not going to be able to, hey, it's time to be a Dodger. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see when he joins the team. The Blue Jays got Jose Barrios for Austin Martin and Simeon Woods Richardson, who's actually playing in Japan in the Olympics. That's now the second guy that they've second guy the Twins acquired that's playing in the Olympics.
So he probably doesn't know he was traded because he's sleeping.
Yeah, or yeah. Well, he might know now, but yeah. They got Brad Hand, and they got Joaquim Soria from the Diamondbacks, ex-A's reliever. The Brewers got Eduardo Escobar from the Diamondbacks and Daniel Norris from the Tigers. The Red Sox got Kyle Schwarber and his 25 home runs, Hansel Robles, who throws hard from the Twins, and Austin Davis from the Pirates. The Padres got Daniel Hudson and Jake Marisnick. The Hudson move was a very sneaky, underrated move for them. The guy's thrown 99, and he was very sought after. I think like 10 teams are trying to get him. The Cardinals got Jay Happ and John Lester, 2 really old, soft-tossing left-handers. But, hey, they're trying to show their fan base they're going for it. The Rays got Jordan Luplow from the Indians in a very small trade, but it's the Rays. He'll probably hit 20 home runs the rest of the way for them. And the Astros traded Miles Straw for reliever Phil Maton. So from the Indians. So there's most of the major moves. And obviously, we know the A's got Yan Gomes and Josh Harrison. Did I miss any major ones?
I don't know.
Because the Rockies didn't trade Trevor Story.
You're just talking. As Billy Bean, Brad Pitt say, you're just talking. Talking.
I still can't believe the Rockies didn't trade Story or John Gray or Daniel Barr, all free agents who they're going to put.
Where's the big move for the Mariners that we were now going to understand the game plan?
Yeah, both of them.
Where is this major move that made you have to get rid of Kendall Graveman, wait for it, in division to the team you're chasing and the team we're chasing? Because there's 28 other teams other than the Mariners and the Astros. There's 28 other teams that couldn't give you a better deal for Kendall Graveman.
I'm not trying to defend Jerry DiPoto, but Abraham Toro has hit home runs in, I think, back-to-back days for Seattle. But you're right. I mean, that's all you could.
28 other teams. You're trying to tell me there's 28. I'm telling you, this is.
I mean, the Astros made a couple other moves too. They got a couple other relievers, but I mean, that move, like, that's going to ruin the Mariners' chances. I mean, they already hate DiPoto now. I mean, they feel the article that was released in the Seattle Times, they feel betrayed and they're upset. Like the senior guys on the team, like Kyle Seager and Mitch Haniger, like, how do you think they feel? These guys, like, they've never been in a playoff run, ever.
Hey, and remember this. You may say, oh, what does it matter? Look what happened in Chicago. Basically, the players started hating the organization. Chris Bryant was never going to re-sign with them. Look at George Springer. George Springer, now that we know, George Springer couldn't wait to get out of Houston. You mess with the players too much, at some point they're going to be like, I'm out of here. And let's face it, do you really want to be stuck in the Pacific Northwest? Not saying it's not beautiful, great place, love Seattle. But as a player, do you really want to be the longest flights by far of any team in baseball? No one really notices you. I mean, do you really want, who stays a Mariner their entire life? Nobody. I mean, if you want to be the guy, is it really going to happen in Seattle?
Yeah.
Just saying. Martin Gallegos joins us from MLB.com covering the Oakland Athletics. And Martin, it's almost criminal what just happened here between the Mariners and the Houston Astros.
Yeah, I'm still trying to kind of wrap my head around it. After what we just saw the Mariners do to the A's the last 3 games and what they did to the Astros last night, I'm hearing that there's more moves to be made, that maybe the Mariners are still trying to add. I guess that would make a little more sense. But, Kendall Graveman was having a heck of a year. So, I'm not surprised that, the trade didn't really go well over with the club out there.
Not only is he having a great year, Martin, he's only making $500,000. You have one of the best relievers and one of the cheapest relievers in all of the game, and you gave it up for a 37-year-old and a guy that can't hit.
Yeah, I know. I would like to know, what the thinking is behind there. What Jerry DePoto has to say about that one, because like you said, he's making next to nothing, the minimum, and you trade a guy like that away. And then the chemistry aspect as well. I know Graveman's a well-liked guy over there, and to trade a guy like that away in the middle of what looks like something special with your team going on, it's weird to me. It's mind-boggling. Like I can't really believe it actually happened.
And I'm trying to think. All right, once again, you got a 37-year-old pitcher with an ERA of, I want to say his ERA. Joe Smith. Listen to these stats, okay? Versus we've given you Graveman stats. Let me give you a Joe Smith, what you're getting in return from the Houston Astros. You're getting a guy who's 1-1 with a 7.48 ERA. And you traded for another guy that's hitting like 211. So that's what you gave up, one of the best. Like I'm trying to think, we didn't have something better to offer than that?
Right. Yeah. No. That's the crazy part too. I was thinking, man, if the A's could have got a guy like Graveman, that would have been great too. They ended up getting Chafin, which was a pretty good ad as well. But if you get Graveman for that surprised me too. That return that you just mentioned, it's not a whole heck of a lot. No, top prospects or anything. I know Abraham Toro has been highly thought of in the past, but he hasn't really done anything at the major league level yet. So, it's a weird one. It's a weird one. I don't really know how to explain it.
Yeah, if you would have been able to pick up Graveman and Chafin, so you got a terrific left-hander and then a guy that's been lights out as a closer, and then now you're going to do that with Lou Trevino and Diekman and the way Sergio Romo's come on, Yasmero Petit. Now you would have really lengthened your bullpen, and we're talking about really no money in this deal either. That's also the thing. When you start matching up the salaries, it's just like I don't get. Jerry DePoto's got a lot of explaining to do, and you know what? If I'm a Mariners player, if I'm a Mariners fan, I don't know what he's planning on doing, but I'm upset right now.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, that series against the A's, it felt like a team with had something special going on. The fans were into it, and the Mariners just seem to have that special thing where no matter what the situation is, they feel like they're going to win the ball game. And the A's have had feelings like that in the past, and it felt like a young team on the rise. So we'll see if they make any other additions here, but just to get rid of a guy like Graveman, no matter who they end up getting, I don't know. I don't understand what the thinking is there.
Well, with Chafin, we know we're getting a guy with a personality, and he's going to be fun to interview. But he's also having one heck of a year for the Cubs. Talk about what the Athletics got from Chicago.
Yeah, I mean, one of the best left-handed relievers in the game this year. It seems like, just by looking at the numbers and the year that he's putting together in Chicago. I know he's obviously a really well-liked guy in the clubhouse. So I mean, it fits right in with the A's in terms of guys that they like to bring in off the field, personality-wise. So it'll be a big addition for them. I think they were pretty thin on late inning relievers who they can really rely on to be that bridge to Trevino in the ninth, and now you got Yusmeiro Petit, and then now you've got two lefties who Bob Melvin trusts in Jake Diekman and Andrew Chafin. So I expect him to kind of step in and be immediately slot into that seventh inning, eighth inning role, depending on matchups and who he's facing. But, he's been good against both guys from the left side and the right side. So, I mean, it was a good pickup. I mean, I didn't really have Chafin on my radar, going into it because I wasn't sure if the Cubs were going to be even selling. But you look at the numbers and he's had a great year. So, I mean, I think it's a pretty good get. We'll see if they end up doing anything else before Friday, but they at least, address the need that they had in the bullpen for sure.
One question I get a lot in the post-game show is, do the A's have enough in their minor league system to land like a big bat? Because their minor league system, and I always applaud them, they always try and win, so they're never going to have a top-rated farm system. But what do you think they got enough pieces to go get a big name or a big bat?
It's tough. I mean, you mentioned their farm system isn't great, but I mean, you see all around the league. I mean, it's kind of tough to tell. I mean, it depends on the team. I mean, there's certain teams that might like a guy who's in the system right now who you view him and you're like, oh, I don't think that guy's going to be enough to get a certain person, like you saw with the Graveman deal today. But obviously, a bat, especially an impact bat, will be in higher demand. You've heard the names that are out there already. Whether teams are willing to sell them or not, I think it's still kind of developing. But I think they've got enough to get some type of bat. I don't know if it's like a top tier name like a Joey Gallo if he were to become available, or a Trevor Story, but I think they got pieces to find some type of bat that I think would be considered an upgrade for this lineup.
When I think about Joey Gallo, we saw him when he was red hot, right? I mean, you threw the ball anywhere around the plate and he was crushing it. And everybody's like, you got to go get Gallo. And I went, I'm not so sure. Well, ever since he tore up the A's in that series, he's back to hitting 222. So I'm not sure he's the kind of guy that, don't you think if the A's are going to add anybody, they got to find somebody that can make contact?
Yeah, I mean, you look at last year when they went out and got Tommy La Stella and how much improved that lineup became. It became much more tougher in those first innings when you had La Stella and Simeon batting at the top of the order. La Stella never struck out, and he seemed to be kind of a pest there who would extend at bats, kind of like what Mark Canha has been able to do right now. If you were to add another guy like that in the top two slots in the lineup, it'd be so much. It would open up so much more possibilities for them. A guy who can get on base for Matt Olson, because right now it seems like Matt Olson is, continuing his tear after the All-Star break, but it's the guys around him who have high expectations that aren't really, performing up to their career averages right now. And at some point, regardless of whether or not they go out and get a bat, they're going to need some of these guys, especially a guy like a Matt Chapman or Ramon Laureano who you're counting on to be, a middle of the order threat and help out Olson and form a formidable 3-4-5. Those guys you gotta pick it up here a little bit. And Ramon Laureano's been swinging the bat here better as of late. Chapman homered in Seattle, but it's been pretty inconsistent for the most part. And it's a lot of guys in that lineup as well. So I mean, regardless of what they do, they need their own guys to start picking up the pace a little bit here and helping out Matt Olson in that lineup.
Yeah, no question. I mean, I'm looking at the lineup right now that's going up against the Padres. The Padres, every player in their lineup is hitting 260 or more, except one guy. And then for the A's, they only have one guy hitting above 260, which is Matt Olson. And I just wonder, and we really don't get to talk to the guys like we normally do. We're still in the COVID protocol deal. But when you're hitting 218 and it's almost August, At one point, you just say, to hell with it. I'm not going to worry about my average, and I'm just going to act like, starting today, it's a whole new start, hit like a reset button.
Right. Yeah, you have to. And, they had the off day in San Diego on Monday, so maybe that helped guys out a little bit. I know the All-Star break was a chance for some guys to reset. And some guys did come out swinging, okay, out of the All-Star break. I know Seth Brown got off to a little bit of a good start. Mitch Moreland was swinging the bat better, right after he got back. You can't look at the numbers that you've put up to this point because, a lot of them are obviously going to be very down. You just got to try to get back to your averages for your career. And they have guys in the lineup who we know historically have been good hitters, and some of them are on the older side, but not all of them. There's some guys who are still, I think could be considered in their prime who just have gotten off to bad starts, and they've been kind of scuffling to try to get back to those normal numbers that they're used to seeing. But going forward, you just got to do what you can. You got to treat it like 2 month season, and just start swinging the way you can swing it.
Well, after today's news, I think what we have to root for going forward is that Max Scherzer, if he's going to be dealt, he gets dealt to either the Dodgers or the Padres and keep him out of Houston. If you're an A's fan looking at it, right, isn't that get him out of the American League and get him to the National or to the Mets, whoever, just not Houston.
Yeah, anywhere else. I know it sounds like his preferred destination is somewhere on the west, so maybe send him way west to like California somewhere. But you don't want to see that guy go to the Astros. It would get vibes of like getting when they got Justin Verlander a few years back. Just a guy who is obviously a dominant guy and a dominant postseason pitcher as well. So you don't want to see that guy in your division for sure.
We've talked so much about payroll and locking guys up long term, and Matt Olson, the All-Star, I've said it on this program many times. If I had to bet 1A to be an MVP, if I had to put my money on it, I'd put Matt Olson. Don't you think now, with the way the last couple of seasons have gone, if the A's are going to put their money on one guy, and if you were running this team, wouldn't you do it on Matt Olson?
Yeah, it feels like it. He really, the way the evolution he's gone through as a hitter, it's just incredible. And he's an all-around great player now. There's no flaws in his game. Before you thought, well, maybe, he's a guy who's going to hit for a lot of power, but maybe won't hit for a high average and he might strike out a lot. Well, he's not really striking out anymore. He's hitting for a high average. He's hitting the ball to all fields. He's looking like, a contact hitter who also has a ton of power, and we all know the defense he brings. So, all around, that is the ingredients for a face of the franchise. So definitely, I think, if there's one guy that you would say, okay, we want you to represent our organization for the next, I don't know, however many years, Matt Olson is definitely the type of guy. Obviously, and off the field as well, his personality just fits right in here. And I know he loves playing for Oakland. He's a loyal guy, and he's, he loves that they drafted him and took a chance on him out of high school. So, that's a guy that you want to, represent your franchise for the next however many years.
And wouldn't you say they need to do it soon? Because every single time he goes deep and every single time he's driving in runs, he's just getting more expensive by the day.
Yeah, no, he's definitely made a lot of money for himself this year. And then with arbitration coming up, the price tag will only go up. So, if you choose to go arbitration route, it's going to be expensive regardless. So, you might as well try to work something out now and maybe see if you can save a little bit money. To whereas, if he keeps this up, you're going to be saying, well, we're sure glad we signed him before, he won an MVP or before he, blossomed into a national star. Because, he seems to be heading that direction. Like he's only going to be getting better. It seems like this is just the start of, his next phase in his career being a truly elite player, it feels like.
When you think about teams having to come up with a 5-man rotation, to have the same 5 guys day after day after day and getting really good starts for them. You look at what Cap's been able to do. You look at Cole Irvin, basically your 4 and 5. Just talk about what you've seen with this 5 this year and what they give the A's day in and day out.
Yeah, it's been really remarkable. You don't see that often. I know especially with the A's, it seems like every year, they go through a lot of starters, and it's rare for guys to stay healthy the whole year. But, after, earlier in the season, they had Luzardo in there and he went down, and then, Caprillion came up and he's established himself as a guy in this rotation. So, I mean, the starting rotation has been really, aside from that first week of the season or so, they've been consistent, giving you quality start after quality start, 1 through 5. I mean, Cole Irvin, Frankie Montas, Caprillion, obviously Bassett and Manaea formed a really good 1-2 punch at the top there. So, for them to stick with these guys for the majority of the season, I mean, you don't see that often. And, it kind of worries you at a little bit because, you figure at some point, the innings are going to start to build up and, they might go through a period where, they need a little bit of rest and, do they have the depth to call up in the minors to replace these guys at some point? We'll see if that time comes. I feel like in August and September, that's when your rotation really gets tested and you really got to rely on your bullpen a little bit more, which is why I think the A's are looking for relief help at this point. But, they've done a great job. And I mean, without the starting rotation, especially with how inconsistent the offense has been, if they didn't have this rotation putting in this type of performance, I mean, they wouldn't be in the spot they're in right now.
Yeah, and the thing is, they're feeding off of each other. And I hear you get a little bit worried about the workload, but right now, each one of these guys, no one wants to be the weak link. And just talk about that battle, that internal fun battle that they have with each other, because no one wants to be the guy that messes it up.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, they talk about it all the time. I mean, Bassett, I think, is kind of the leader there, and he kind of sets that tone of, okay, let's go out there and compete with each other every day. And, they've got guys on here who are hungry too. I mean, Cole Irvin was a guy who never really got a shot in Philly. Now he's getting a shot with the A's, and he's kind of determined to prove that he can be a starter in this league. James Caprillion had all those injury issues in the past, and people were kind of writing him off, and he's determined to prove that he can be that, prospect that everyone was highly touting him to be. At the major league level. Frankie Montas has nasty stuff, and we've seen him kind of pitch a lot better here recently. In Seattle, he had that little hiccup with the 2 back-to-back homers, but other than that, he looked dominant as well. So I mean, everyone kind of just passes the baton. Nobody, like you said, wants to be the weak link. Everybody wants to go out there and give their team a chance to win. And majority of times they're giving them a chance to win. So definitely. I mean, I look at this rotation that it might not have like the big names, but 1 through 5, I mean, you stack it up with the other rotations around baseball, and it's got to be up there with the top rotations in the game.
Have you been traveling at all?
Yeah. Finally been traveling here the last, started around June. So yeah, we're on the road again.
How is that?
It's been good. It's good to get out again and be able to go to other cities and see other ballparks. We're still not able to go in the clubhouse or anything, but we're able to go on the field for BP and we're able to talk to players. So it's nice to kind of get that interaction back again. It is kind of weird traveling, just going on airports again and going on planes, but
yeah.
It comes back to you after doing it for so long. But I mean, I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it. I'm lucky and glad that we're traveling again, and hopefully we get even more back to normal soon with the clubhouse and stuff.
Yeah, I remember when I took the kids on an off day down to Disneyland and just getting on a plane with the mask and everything. You're like, wow, this is weird, but good for you. I mean, I forget what it's like to travel. It's been a long time, and I can't wait to get back out on the road.
Yeah, no, you certainly miss it for sure. And I mean, it's still kind of, like you said, it's weird with the masks on the plane and stuff. But I mean, once you get there and then you kind of remember, man, this is what it's like to travel. You kind of really learn not to take it for granted anymore. So I'm excited about it.
Enjoy the next 2 days in San Diego and then 4 in Anaheim, and we'll see you back at the Coliseum.
All right. Thanks, Tom. See you later.
Mark, it's great to hear your voice. Thanks for coming on the program again.
Oh, I appreciate it, Chris. Thank you for having me on.
And I think the next 2 days are going to be pretty exciting. 2 teams that are in it. They're going to be buyers at the deadline. Of course, Padres chasing the Giants. We're chasing the Astros. This should be a fun 2 days down at Petco.
Yeah, I think every minute we're refreshing our Twitter just to check and see if anything else happens. But yeah, to your point, these are 2 talented teams that, whether it's American League versus National League, these are very good teams that expect to see a very good game tonight.
And there's such a revival in the fan base down in San Diego. As when we look at the highlights, the stands are packed. The team's got a lot of swagger. They've got the chain going. Talk about what baseball is like down San Diego right now.
Chris, to your point, the Padres front office had a reopening day because of the challenges with with the beginning of the year, as you know, the restrictions of how many people, how many fans you could come in. And when it went 100% capacity, I've never seen anything like it. I've seen some playoff atmospheres, obviously, as a player, as a broadcaster. You didn't see anything like that. I think everyone is just ready to be excited for this club. They're excited to just come and basically take on a baseball game at Petco Park. It's a beautiful field, but I've never seen the energy like that. And I've described it the best I can is it's almost like a World Baseball Classic where you have the horns, the drums, all of that stuff. You guys know everything about that with the fan base out in left field in Oakland. It was like that throughout the whole ballpark. And I was happy for the players that came up last year. We've mentioned too, the guys that were rookies last year, they've never had an opportunity to play in front of people, let alone play in an atmosphere that you're expected to win. They're excited for you to win, and they can't wait. So I love the fact that Jake Cronenworth, the all-star second baseman here, gets to play in front of fans and passionate fans that expect him to win.
Yeah, and it's always a lot of fun when you see a city just latch onto a team, and we're starting to see that in Seattle right now. There's a revival with the Mariners, but I think down in San Diego, especially since the Chargers left, went north, and they're playing in Los Angeles, other than San Diego State, really, the Padres are the only game in town, so it's good to see. And just talk about this revival with this exciting team and the fan base.
Yeah, Chris, to your point, I think when the Chargers left, it was a gut punch for a lot of people here that were passionate about having a major sport in their city. Much like up in Oakland, I'm sure they were devastated. They lost the Oakland Raiders. But when you lose something like that and you don't have another major league team, the focus shifts to a team that really is on the rise. And you start looking at the Manny Machados. Obviously, Fernando Tatis Jr. is the talk throughout baseball. But you go around, you have Yu Darvish, other pieces that have expectation to go out there and challenge the Los Angeles Dodgers, and obviously the San Francisco Giants as well. So it is a revival around the city. Everyone's talking about them. And I'll tell you this, from a player's perspective, when you have a playoff race in San Diego, it usually snowballs. Well, this hasn't snowballed. It started right from the get-go. So many people are excited about this roster. They're excited about the young talent on this team. And they also understand, too, they have an opportunity to go out there and challenge the Dodgers.
You know, when you're a player that doesn't have a very good batting average, and because I think you're going to see tonight with our lineup is, we're built to hit home runs, but unfortunately we're just hitting a lot of solo home runs, and the offense has struggled lately. As a player, when you're hitting, 218 like Matt Chapman is right now, how do you just not look at the scoreboard? You put the numbers away and just realize what I can do from this day forward, or is that even possible?
Yeah, it is possible. I think these guys this day and age, and what I marveled about with other players that were in that scenario, that were everyday players, they really compartmentalize game from game. And I always say this too. One of my good friends was Greg Vaughn in 1998 when we went on this playoff race, and he had 50 home runs. Well, that year was an all-star year. Everything was going well for him, but he still had those nights where he felt like, man, he just struggled, whether it was 2 or 3 strikeouts, a bad night, maybe a double play. And I'd look at him, I go, man, you okay? And he goes, tomorrow's guy's got to pay. And the reason why I say that is I think that's the mentality of a lot of these guys that are very mentally strong. And sometimes you're challenged by looking up at the average, but everyone knows what they're doing. But they also understand, too, and Matt Chapman is one swing away from changing that up. A solo home run that's a 1-run victory changes your mentality. And this game is really one of those things that you have certain expectations when you have a certain resume. And I think some of these guys are still trying to build those with the younger players, but also some other guys just have the confidence that, you know what, in a matter of time, it's coming, and I'm going to be the one that's carrying this offense.
I look at the Giants, I look at the Dodgers, and I look at the Padres. All 3 of these teams are 5-5 in their last 10 games. They're all close. But is this really the first time that you've got the sense that the Dodgers really are vulnerable?
They are, because you have the injuries. You have the situation with Trevor Bauer that is really something that can devastate a locker room, can change different thoughts. But yes, I mean, to your point, when you go through a World Series championship, typically you go through a lot more adversity than most other teams do. And I think the Dodgers are doing that. That being said, they're only 2 games back, and the Giants understand and I think the Padres do too. That's the team that you have to beat. Whether you're the Giants in first or not, they have 8 division titles for a reason. They've been consistent. They have talent. They also have guys that come up and step up at the biggest time. So I think that's the challenge for the Giants and the Padres. And like you said, 5-5 is not going to get it done. You have to go on some really good stretches. And I think really the Pirates and the Giants need to prove that to themselves and try to take out the Dodgers. And I think that is the challenge moving forward.
Now, A.J. Preller is a wheeler and dealer, and obviously Adam Frazier from the Pirates just got traded to the Padres. What else do you think he's going to do before the deadline?
It's interesting. Everyone's in play. There's all kinds of different scenarios, and typically we didn't hear Adam Frazier's name bandied about around here, and he makes that trade. And obviously, getting another All-Star that you can go out there and be versatile. You can put him at second base. You can put him on the corners in the outfield. I think A.J. Preller really focused on trying to do that this offseason with his staff, and they've done that. They brought an all-star caliber player in there that's going to help them, especially on base percentage. You talked about the batting average. He leads major leagues in hits. He adds a lot of dynamic to this roster, and really it's the complement pieces that are going to get it done for you. Like I mentioned, Jay Cronenworth. I think Adam Frazier fits that bill. Go out there and get some hits, try to set the table for the big guys in the middle of the order. That typically is a good success. But I would say, honestly, Chris, he's looking for a starting pitcher. He's looking for a reliever. But if he can get both, I think that's great. But if he can get one, I still think it's a team that has expectations to go out there and win, a roster that has the ability to do it. It's about matching your ability with results. And if they do that, they can be a successful team down the stretch.
In your career, and you had a really good career, you played with and against some of the greatest players of all time.
Yeah.
Knowing that, where do you put Fernando Tatis? Does he look like one of those guys to you?
He looks the part. I always reserve this because everyone wants to say, the phrase GOAT and the best I've ever seen. All of that type of stuff. He has to stay on the field, in my opinion. If he stays on the field, the sky's the limit for this guy. The energy that he brings, the enthusiasm, even though if you look at the defensive errors, he makes a defensive play at the right time that helps you athletically. But, man, on the base paths, hitting the ball out of the ballpark, obviously, but also being the energy of this club. The sky's the limit for him. I don't want to put any labels on him, but, man, if he stays healthy throughout this career, he's going to do a lot of great things. And listen, I think that's for other people to say, but I'm just glad that he's on the Padres and I get to watch him every night.
Have you put on that chain yet?
No, man, that's not for me, Chris. I'm not a chain guy, but, man, I like it because this day and age in the game of baseball, there's a lot of fun. They're enjoying themselves. Manny Machado introduced it, and, man, they're having a lot of good times with it. I just hope that chain really resonates in the playoffs and then continues to go on and possibly get a World Series championship.
I've always wanted to ask you this about your career. You were like an all-world quarterback in high school, and I know you signed to play football, but then you didn't, right? You just played baseball. Why is that?
Well, I went there as a freshman. I went to the University of Maine to play football and baseball, and I gave up football after my freshman year. Just realized that the chances for me to go to the next level, if I did, was going to be baseball. But, man, that's my first love. Football continues to be my first love, even though baseball has been so great for me. It's one of those things. I was fortunate enough to have 2 sports and be able to have a choice. And I think I made the right choice knowing that I had the career I did in baseball.
I don't know. You could have been the next Steve Young.
Yeah. Well, I love Steve Young. I was a Jim Zorn fan back in the day, believe it or not, in Seattle. That's why I'm still a Seahawks fan. But I love the left-handed quarterback, and Steve Young was a great one.
Hey, well, you guys do a great job down there in San Diego. I love tuning in. You guys have not only are there players having fun, but you, the broadcasters, you guys are also having a lot of fun.
Well, we are, Chris, and thank you. We enjoy it. Don and Mark Durant have a great time on the broadcast. We try to do our best to enjoy ourselves and have fun because it is a game of baseball, and you're doing it every day. So we love doing what we're doing. We're very fortunate to do what we're doing. But, man, this series is exciting. I love the Oakland A's. I've always admired the way Bob Melvin gets these guys ready to play. Enjoyable because I love that blue-collar effort that they always have. And this two-game series and then next week should be a lot of fun.
Great catching up with you. Be safe, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks for having me on.
Well, we always appreciate having you on the program, and obviously a very big week for you because sounds like things are going to start heating up here in Major League Baseball before the trade deadline.
Well, they really have to, don't they? We're only a few days out from the deadline, and there are a lot of contenders in need of a lot of different things, and a lot of sellers looking to dump those players before they hit free agency, or in some cases with some years of control left, just trying to acquire some prospects to help them further going down the line. So, you have to think there's going to be a lot of movement between now and Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern.
Well, I know for us, getting Chafin is going to be great for this show because he's going to be a phenomenal interview. This guy's really out there. What'd you think about that move for the A's helping out their bullpen?
Yeah, Chafin's been a really good pitcher for a while, and obviously a good late inning guy who isn't really phased by much. I think he was definitely a good addition for an A's team that needed a little bit of a boost in the bullpen. I'm not sure they're even done. There could be more bullpen help on the way. There's a lot of relievers out there, and that's the most competitive area leading up to the deadline is definitely going to be the bullpen. You talk about some of the big names, the Chris Bryants, Trevor Stories, et cetera. Teams have to match up with teams that have needs at those positions. Every contender out there needs bullpen help, whether you're the Astros, the A's, the Mets, the Dodgers, the Padres. Everybody needs bullpen help. So those relievers are going to likely bring back the biggest returns.
It's so interesting when you're one of the sellers and you have a piece that other people want. You want to hold on to it as long as you can to get the best deal. But then again, you don't want to get stuck keeping that piece. Just talk about that dance between the buyers and the sellers as we get closer to the deadline.
Yeah, well, that's why I think the relievers, you're going to see a lot of those guys wait until Friday to move because the fact that so many teams are in need of bullpen help, you can, if you're a seller, you can get, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams in a bidding war for a guy, Craig Kimbrell, Richard Rodriguez in Pittsburgh, Ian Kennedy in Texas. Guys are going to want those pitchers. And if you can, as the deadline gets closer, that urgency is created and the bids can go up. With the position players, it's not as cut and dry. And, if you've got one or two teams that are interested in a Chris Bryant, in a Trevor Story, then you have to decide, is the price that's on the table the best we're going to get? And is that price worth it compared to making them a qualifying offer when they hit free agency and getting the compensatory draft picks at the end of the first round? So there's a little bit of a dance there. Like I said, the market is a little narrower for the position players, which is why I think you could see those guys move in advance of the deadline.
So you've been tweeting about Max Scherzer and where he potentially could be going, leaving the Nationals and trading away the 3-time Cy Young Award winner. Where do you think he ends up on the West Coast, or do you think he ends up on the East Coast?
I would put my money down on the West Coast. I've talked to some sources who said that he has a strong preference for going out west. He wants to go to a team that he could potentially re-sign with next year. The Nationals are in a bit of a downturn, and there's some question whether they're going to be real contenders next year. And Max Scherzer, going on his 37th birthday, is at a spot in his career where, staying in a rebuilding situation and is probably not what he's looking for. So you look at the Dodgers, you look at the Padres, you look at the Giants. All three of those teams have the financial wherewithal to re-sign him. They're all contenders. They've all got great cores. And, it would not surprise me at all if he winds up on one of those NL West contenders.
And with the Dodgers, you still have, wouldn't you say, the unknown of what's going to happen with Trevor Bauer and his problems away from the field?
Yeah, no question about it. And, Clayton Kershaw's on the injured list. So the Dodgers rotation, as good as the Dodgers are, there are some questions there. Julio Urias has already surpassed his career high in innings. So you have to wonder, how much can the Dodgers count on him come the end of the season? Kershaw's health is a question. Bauer's future in general, not just for this season, but long term is a question. So adding Scherzer to that rotation would certainly be a boost for the Dodgers as they try to figure out a way to repeat as World Series champs.
The amount of star power in Southern California right now with all the great players on the Dodgers roster. Obviously, they just won the World Series. You got Ohtani, you got Trout, you got Rendon in Orange County. Then you got Tatis, you got Machado. I mean, just talk about just the firepower and the star power between those three teams in Southern California.
It's really amazing. It's almost become the epicenter of Major League Baseball when you think about the stars that are out there. With you didn't mention Mookie Betts is one of the best players in the game. Betts, Trout, Tatis, Machado, Bellinger, Ohtani. You've got just some incredible players playing within 90 minutes of each other, and the fact that two of them, the Padres and the Dodgers, are rivals in that NL West. Forget the fact that a few hours up north, you've got the Giants having this unbelievable season, sort of what people expected to be sort of a last hurrah as guys like Posey and Crawford and Belt are heading towards free agency. The Giants are going to have a lot of money to spend this winter too, so they're not going to go away quietly. They may bring some of those guys back. They may go out and bring in some other free agents. So California is really very impressive in general. And of course, the A's have been a contender all year, and every year people sort of underrate what Oakland's going to be going into the season. And then every year Oakland goes out there and just continues to play winning baseball. So really, really fun time to be a baseball fan in California.
And then I think, A's were just up in Seattle for 4, and we lost 3 of 4. And you're looking at Jerry Dipoto, who probably thought, well, this is a rebuild year, and they got young players, and all of a sudden they are right behind us. And we were hearing that this last series was really going to decide for them, are they in or are they out? Are they sellers? Are they buyers? I got to think now, don't you think, Mark, that they got to be buyers?
I would think so. And I mean, there's no GM in the game who loves trading as much as Jerry Dipoto. So the idea that he can trade, to acquire players to try to win this year, got to be pretty exciting for him, given what they've gone through the past few years. So they've got a really bright future. I don't see them going all in to the point where they're going to trade guys like Jared Kelenic or Julio Rodriguez. Those guys are the guys that they're counting on to come up and be a big part of the future now that they've turned the corner on the rebuild. But if they can make some moves to try to get a wild card spot, a lot of teams don't look at a wild card spot as being all that, big of an accomplishment. Mariners haven't been to the playoffs in 20 years. And that's a big thing up there. When the Mariners are good, Seattle, as you know, is a great baseball town. I remember my first year covering Major League Baseball was 2001, and the Mariners had that 116-win season. And I was out there for the ALCS with the Yankees and Mariners, and it was electric. And that ballpark gets really, really exciting when Seattle is good. So I think Dipoto will make some moves to try to upgrade his roster right now in an effort to get to the playoffs. But I don't think it will be at the expense of the next 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, they got a fever up there right now. I mean, we saw it on Saturday and Sunday playing these really close games, and T-Mobile was absolutely packed. And it's just crazy to think that everybody in the NFL, everybody in the NBA, everybody in the NHL, and 29 other teams in Major League Baseball, everybody's been to the playoffs since the Mariners. I mean, since they got in and that long ago, and that's just crazy to think that every of the major professional sports teams in this country have been to the playoffs and they haven't. It's just wild.
Yeah, it's completely insane, actually. And you think about it, they've had some really good players during that stretch, too. It's not like they've been sitting here with an awful roster. They've had some years where they've had winning records and been close, but they just haven't been able to get over that hump. And, you think about Felix Hernandez's entire career. You had one of the best pitchers in the game pitching up there, and they just couldn't get over that hump. So, Seattle is a great sports town. We've seen it with the Seahawks. When they've been good and they've had this run here the last 10 or 12 years, how much the city gets behind them. And we've seen that with the Mariners. And so I think Jerry Dipoto owes it to the fan base and to the guys on that team and the manager, Scott Service. And, they've had a really impressive year where they've gotten to a point that nobody thought they would be. So I think they owe it to them to, go out, get some reinforcements. Don't mortgage the future to do it. But they've got enough prospects out there. They've got enough players that, Jerry's a very creative guy, and I think he'll make some moves to try to boost their chances to get back to the postseason.
So with all your sources and everybody you're talking to right now, has there been a name that has shocked you to a point you go, wow, I can't believe that guy's available?
Not really. This stuff is covered so much now that every possibility is basically thrown out there as an option, right? I mean, for 10 days ago, I would have told you the Nationals are not trading Max Scherzer. The Nationals are not making any huge selling moves. Then they go out, have a bad 10 days. They get swept by the Orioles, and now all of a sudden Max Scherzer is the most coveted guy on the market. I would say if there's one player that surprises me, the idea of Washington trading Trey Turner seems like a bit of an out there scenario. And I think the only way Turner gets moved, because he's not a free agent, he's got another year of control. The only way he gets moved is if a team comes to the Nationals and says, here's a deal you can't possibly refuse. The reason I don't think that's going to happen is a team that is that, desperate at shortstop. There are some rental options out there. Trevor Story, Javier Baez, who will cost a lot less than Trey Turner and could have a similar impact on this year's race. So Turner is probably the guy whose name is out there that surprised me more than anybody else.
Let's end on this. Whether you're a buyer or a seller, what you're hearing out there, who do you think will be the most active team?
Well, I think you look at the Padres and just A.J. Preller's history tells you that he is not going to be quiet during this trade deadline. So I would not be surprised. They've already made a move, and I don't think they're done. So, they already added Adam Frazier, a player that they didn't really necessarily need, right? They had Jake Cronenworth as an all-star at second base, but Frazier can play the outfield. They're going to move him around a little bit, and they've added a good bat to their lineup. San Diego is a team I always am watching for in terms of being aggressive. I think the Mets have a move or two in them. I think a lot of the contenders out there will try to make a move to sort of augment those rosters leading up to it. I think Houston's another team to watch. They understand that they've got some challenges in the AL West with Oakland and Seattle. I think they could be aggressive in boosting up their bullpen and possibly getting a starter as well.
Well, we always appreciate your time, especially during this time of the season where we know you're so busy. So be well, be safe, enjoy this deadline, and let's talk in a couple weeks.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you having me on.
It's always great to have you back on the program. How are you?
Doing well. Looking forward to the rest of this week where we'll see a lot of names change teams. And then, it's always fun. The final 2 months, teams know what they have. No waiver wire trades anymore. So once August 1st comes, everybody knows what they have, and it's a race to the finish.
Well, we know Chafin has been really good for the Cubs, and the A's have acquired him. He's a character. Tell us what we're getting with this left-hander.
Yeah, I think Chicago kind of brought out his personality. It was kind of hidden, I believe, in Arizona. Fun guy. I mean, he looks like an old school guy. He belongs in the 70s. He's got the mustache going, the goofy hair. He belongs in the bullpen in the 70s smoking a cigarette. That's the look, and he plays it up. I don't know, again, if people sort of brought that out of him previously, but I think his personality really shined in Chicago. So you'll see that, and you'll see some devastating stuff. He doesn't really trick you. I mean, it's just good hard fastball, some decent off speed, and that's it. He comes right at you. So I think it just sort of all came together for him this year. I don't think there was any sort of